So superheroes have been a part of our modern lives ever since Tony Stark said, "I am Iron Man," live on KNKV News. And everyone learned in school about Captain America fighting Hydra during World War II. But between those two eras, superheroes were something that mostly stayed within fiction, with one of the most popular examples being the 80s sci-fi classic, Wonder Man. Though it didn't have the groundbreaking effects of Empire Strikes Back or Aliens, it became a cult favorite with fans of the genre, and has remained popular well into the modern day. And ever since the useless half of morons in Hollywood came back after the blip, they've been trying to cash in on the public's current love of real-life superheroes. With total bombs like that garbage movie adaptation of Rogers the Musical, or straight-to-streaming slop like The Snap. And now, after many failures with movies based on real-life events, it seems like next they're turning their sights to fictional superheroes with the new Wonder Man remake. Something pretty much every U-screener, including myself, was immediately against when we learned the pretentious director of frickin' erstwhile Lily and The Basket Weaver was helming this movie. And the casting of some random-ass guy who, if you type his name into Lookie, his biggest IDBM credit was a one-episode role on The Rookie. Which is ironic, since Nathan Fillion has long been a popular fan casting for a potential remake of Wonder Man, while this Simon Williams guy looks nothing like him. However, despite all of those fan concerns, Wonder Man's remake has been a huge success, with its lead actor Simon Williams clearly now destined to go from being a nobody to a household name. This movie has successfully channeled into the humanity of superheroes in a way that, ironically, projects based on real-life heroes like Captain America and Iron Man have been completely unable to do, and been rewarded by making craploads at the box office. But despite its success with mainstream audiences, how much does Wonder Man actually respect the characters of the original that fans have loved for decades? Well, let's find out. By using the same 3Cs system we previously used to compare the Zaniac comics to the movie adaptation, to rate every character adapted into the Wonder Man remake by how similar or different they are to the original, and then rank them up from the worst adapted to the absolute best. With those 3Cs being, as always, costume, character, and continuity. Costume rates a character's outfit, their overall look, and their superficial physical characteristics. Character rates their personality, their relationships with others, and their powers or abilities. And continuity rates their origin stories, their iconic moments, and their overall place in the world, universe, or timeline. So let's finally find out just how well Wonder Man respects the legacy of the original by starting out with the worst adapted character in the entire movie, who I think most everyone will agree on, at number 4 with Mira. While Mira was an important part of Wonder Man's lore in the first movie, serving as his stalwart ally and constantly trying to save him from himself when he runs into danger, that role gets boiled down to basically nothing in the remake, to the point where I can barely even remember seeing her on screen. And even the movie's IDBM page doesn't have a picture up yet for me to even show you here. Such a shame, because Mira's character was such a great contrast to Wonder Man's in the original. And let's just say, casting the 80s bombshell Jackie Kay in that spacesuit in the original is one of the many parts that made this movie remain so beloved by fans all these years. But now up to 3 with Barnaby. In the original, Barnaby is Wonder Man's closest friend. He's the guy who saved Wonder Man from the dark abyss Wonder Man had fallen into, basically saving him from himself, and turning Wonder Man into a hero in the first place. So in the remake, how do they portray him? Oh, pretty much exactly the same way. Except for the whole literally frickin' betraying him thing. When we first started getting leaks on Reddit that this was going to be the twist in the movie, like many fans, I was pissed. However, though the original Barnaby was a good man, he was not a moral paragon. That's why he was able to relate to and lift Wonder Man out of that darkness in the first place, because he'd experienced it himself. So at the end of the remake, after betraying him, when Barnaby tells Wonder Man that everyone has a price, and when we see what that price was, we see how General Brulard found a way to reach back into that dark part of Barnaby. So despite wanting so much to hate this twist in the movie, it actually does make sense with the original character, with most other changes to the character being relatively minimal. Though on a quick side note, though I do think Joe Pantoliano did a great job in the role, as he always does, I want nothing more than for them to release the original Barnaby footage they had for this remake, with the original casting of, for God knows what reason, the literal Mandarin. I know a lot of people were fooled by that BS man or Mandarin propaganda, but I never was. I've been saying for years that they killed this Trevor Slattery guy and had the Mandarin take his place once the 10 Rings fell in some kind of long-term con just because they kinda look the same. If you're a frickin' idiot, that is. But I guess Hollywood were idiots and were stupid enough to fall for it, and they got half a studio blown up for their frickin' stupidity. But regardless, from all the time they spent promoting the movie with, quote, Trevor Slattery, there's gotta be hours of footage of him pretending to play Barnaby, and I wanna see it. I know they'll never release it because of the controversy, but it's probably now the white whale of lost media for me, even higher than the unreleased footage of Josh Gad's disappearance in Cash Grab 2. And now up to number 2, we have the man himself, Wonder Man. In both the original and remake, Wonder Man is a space hero who will go to any length to save the Earth and those he cares for. Whether it's by facing overwhelming numbers of Embera in the original to save his best friend, or when facing down that best friend in the remake to save the world. Both versions carry a darkness inside of them, but overcome it for the good of others. Both versions can fly, though in the original this is with the aid of a jetpack, which they annoyingly ditched in the remake for being, I don't know, too campy, I suppose. Doing the same thing with the costume. Instead of the bright green full bodysuit fans have known in the original for decades, they just turned it black, which I assume is to try and cash in on the recent press conference revealing the new Avengers to the public with those dark uniforms. Though, as you know, I never support this level of realism in superheroes. And on a side note, hashtag John Walker did nothing wrong. They also completely changed the design on his costume. Instead of the awesome red lines with the iconic yellow diamond in the middle, they looked at the fact that it implied a W on his chest and removed basically everything but that. Which I don't understand, since this movie was trying to go for realism with pretty much every other element of the design, but then they put a big W for Wonder Man on his chest. Realism? What superhero would ever do that? Imagine if frickin' Daredevil had a big D on his chest for Daredevil. That would look frickin' ridiculous. Anyways, for the costume, most surprisingly of all, the remake version still wears the red shades of the original, which shocked the heck out of me. I've even read that they were the same ones Brent Willard wore in the original, though I find that hard to believe, as those things belong in a damn museum. While the original version had iconic long flowing hair, the remake completely ditched that, giving Wonder Man a short cut and a beard. And though I didn't want to bring this up, since so many of you complained when I didn't in my worst to best adapted Phone Ranger video, I will now. There's an obvious major difference between the skin tone of Brent Willard and Simon Williams, and it did annoy a lot of fans leading up to release. But between the differences in style of the two movies, the fact that they didn't make the change a focus of the character, and the incredible performance of Simon Williams, most people seem to have enjoyed the new version to the point where this really has not been a major criticism. Honestly, even with all the changes, it seems clear that the fan base of the original loves this new version of the character, with pretty much no real noticeable controversy around the movie or the casting. This may be the only remake of all time that seems to be universally loved by both fans and general audiences alike immediately upon release, which I would have previously thought was pretty much impossible. And had the making of this movie been the plot of like a fictional show or something, I would have just straight up called it bad writing. But here we are. And now, moving up to the #1 most well-adapted character in Wonder Man, we have exactly who you all expected from the start, General Brulard. I mean, he's pretty much straight out of the original. Enough said, man. So there we go. Despite shill sites like We Know Cinema claiming Wonder Man is exactly like the original, there were a lot of changes. Do you think the movie could have been even better if they'd taken more of the visuals and plot of the original? Or did you, like pretty much everyone else, love how this movie used a fictional hero to comment on the line between our real and fictional ideas of superheroes over the last century? Anyways, if you like this video, give it a share. And follow me over on Intelligentsia, where you can see me complain about Jennifer Walters and other entitled powered people who are giving modern heroes a bad name ever since Tony Stark's death. And join me in my next video, where I'll finally be comparing the highly requested, classic 1947 Kid Colt movie to the original comics. And if you're a fan of Simon Williams, watch out for an upcoming video on the seemingly lost film Haxon 2 and its possible mysterious connection to Wonder Man's new star. And until next time, true believers, Excelsior!